A garden of dreams. In a small town surrounded by rolling hills and picturesque landscapes, Grace Johnson lived a life that many would consider idyllic. She was a well-respected elementary school teacher, known for her passion for education and her dedication to her students. Her days were filled with laughter, creativity, and the joy of watching young minds grow. Yet beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life lay a longing that had been simmering for years, a desire for love that transcended societal boundaries. Grace had always believed in the power of love. Raised in a traditional family, she was taught to value kindness, compassion, and understanding. However, the one thing her family had instilled in her was an unspoken rule about who she should love. As a result, when she met Marcus Thompson, a charismatic and intelligent black man, she felt both exhilaration and trepidation. Their connection was instantaneous, igniting a fire in Grace's heart that she had never experienced before. Marcus was not only a brilliant educator, but also a firm advocate for social justice. He had dedicated his life to helping marginalized communities, believing that education was the key to empowerment. Together, Grace and Marcus shared dreams of building a brighter future for children, where diversity was celebrated and every child felt valued. Yet, as their love blossomed, so did the whispers of disapproval from those around them. Despite their love, Grace felt the weight of societal expectations. Friends who once celebrated her successes began to distance themselves. Colleagues exchanged glances filled with judgment, and family members expressed concern that her relationship with Marcus would tarnish her reputation. The couple chose a quiet garden for their engagement ceremony, a place that symbolized growth and new beginnings. As they exchanged vows, Grace felt a surge of hope, vowing that their love would be a beacon of hope for others facing similar challenges. But as the wedding day approached, the couple found themselves surrounded by a storm of disapproval. Grace's family was the first to express their dismay. Her mother, a woman steeped in tradition, called her in tears, her voice trembling with anger and disappointment. "How could you do this, Grace? What will people think? You're throwing away everything we've taught you." Grace's heart ached at her mother's words, but she stood firm. "Mom, I love Marcus. He's kind, intelligent, and shares my values. Can't you see past our differences?" But her mother wouldn't listen, ending the call abruptly and leaving Grace feeling hollow and alone. At church that Sunday, Grace felt the weight of disapproving stares as she walked to her usual pew. Whispers followed her like a shadow. Mrs. Thompson, her former Sunday school teacher, approached with a tight-lipped smile. "Grace, dear, we're all praying for you to see the error of your ways. It's not too late to call off this mistake." Overwhelmed by the judgment, Grace left the church early, tears welling in her eyes. Even her closest friends began to distance themselves. Mara, her best friend since childhood, sent a text message that shattered Grace's heart. "I'm sorry, Grace, but I can't be your maid of honor. I don't support this marriage. I hope you understand." At work, whispers about her relationship filled the air. "It's a shame," one colleague remarked, unaware that Grace was within earshot. "She was such a promising young teacher. This will ruin her career." The constant criticism and isolation took a toll on Grace. She found herself questioning her decisions and doubting the strength of her love for Marcus. One evening, as they sat on their porch, she confided in him. "It's hard, Marcus. I never thought my own family and friends could be so cruel." Marcus, sensing her despair, replied gently, "I know, sweetheart. It's been tough on both of us." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their situation heavy in the air. Then Grace straightened her shoulders, a spark of determination igniting within her. "We can't keep living like this," she said, her voice resolute. "Maybe it's time for a change." Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What do you have in mind? What if we moved to a bigger city, somewhere more diverse and accepting?" Grace proposed, her heart racing at the thought. Marcus considered her words, a smile forming on his lips. "You know, that's not a bad idea. We could start fresh and find a place where our love isn't constantly under attack. As they began planning their move, the couple felt a renewed sense of hope. They researched cities, looking for vibrant communities where diversity was celebrated. After weeks of deliberation, they settled on a city a few hours away, buzzing with life and opportunities. On the day of their move, Grace took one last look at her childhood home. Tears welled in her eyes, but she felt Marcus's comforting hand on her shoulder. "Ready for our new adventure?" he asked softly. With a nod, Grace wiped away her tears. "As long as we're together, I'm ready for anything." The couple arrived in their new city filled with excitement and trepidation. As they drove through the bustling streets, they felt a sense of liberation wash over them, a chance for a fresh start. After settling into their small apartment, they wasted no time in searching for the perfect location for their dream school. Days turned into weeks as they explored neighborhoods, envisioning a place where children could thrive in an environment that embraced diversity. One rainy afternoon, Marcus spotted an old abandoned building tucked away on a quiet street. "Grace, look at that," he exclaimed, pointing at the dilapidated structure. Grace's eyes lit up. "It's perfect," she whispered, already imagining the possibilities. They saw classrooms filled with eager children and a playground echoing with laughter, a vision that contrasted sharply with the building's current state. After negotiating with the property owner, they managed to secure the building at a price they could afford. However, the real work was just beginning. Each day after their regular jobs, Grace and Marcus would head to the old building, armed with cleaning supplies and renovation tools. They scrubbed floors, patched walls, and painted cheerful colors on the once drab surfaces. "This room will be perfect for art classes," Grace said one evening, her hair speckled with paint. Marcus nodded, pride shining in his eyes. "And that large space in the back can be a library filled with books from all cultures." As they worked, they discussed their plans for the curriculum, aiming to create a safe and inclusive environment for children of all backgrounds. They envisioned cultural exchange days where kids could share family traditions and learn from each other. Marcus emphasized, "We'll make sure our teaching staff is just as diverse as our students. Every child should see themselves represented in their educators." With each passing day, their commitment to their dreams strengthened, despite the challenges that lay ahead. Little did they know, this journey would test their love, resilience, and belief in the power of change in ways they could never have imagined. The heart of change. The first few weeks in their new city passed in a whirlwind of activity. Grace and Marcus were up before dawn and often didn't return home until well after sunset. Their days were a mix of teaching, meeting with local contractors, and planning the curriculum for their school. Every night, they returned to their small apartment, exhausted but filled with a sense of purpose. The challenges they faced only seemed to draw them closer together, fortifying their bond as they worked tirelessly to turn their dreams into reality. As they entered the old building each day, they were greeted by the faint scent of mildew and the sight of peeling wallpaper. Yet, in every corner, they envisioned a vibrant future, laughter echoing through the halls, children's voices rising in joyful song, and an atmosphere brimming with creativity. Their excitement was infectious, and as word spread through the community about their plans, more people began to take an interest in the duo's endeavor. One afternoon, while they were scrubbing the floors of what would become their art room, an elderly woman named Mrs. Carter stopped by. She was a longtime resident of the neighborhood, known for her kindness and her passion for the arts. "I heard about what you two are trying to do," she said, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. "This place used to be alive with children's laughter. It would be wonderful to see it filled again." Grace wiped her brow, sweat glistening on her forehead. "We want to create a safe space for kids of all backgrounds, a place where they can learn and grow together," she explained, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Mrs. Carter nodded, clearly impressed. "I'd love to help. I've been a painter for over 50 years, and I have tons of supplies I could donate. Also, I know many families who would be interested in enrolling their kids once you open." That unexpected support filled Grace and Marcus with renewed energy. They thanked Mrs. Carter profusely, and as she left, they couldn't help but share a hopeful smile. This was what they had envisioned, building a community together. As the renovations continued, they began to uncover more challenges. One day, as they were clearing debris from a back room, Marcus discovered a leak in the ceiling. "Grace, we've got a problem," he called out, looking up at the dripping water. Grace joined him, peering into the dark space. "We'll have to fix this," she said, her brow furrowed. "It's going to be expensive, though." The thought of increasing costs loomed over them, but Marcus remained optimistic. "We can tackle it. Let's make a list of everything we need and reach out to the community again. There's got to be a way to make this work." With a newfound determination, they set up a crowdfunding campaign, detailing their vision and the importance of creating an inclusive educational environment. They shared their story on social media and encouraged their friends, family, and colleagues to help spread the word. Slowly but surely, donations began to trickle in. Local businesses offered discounts on supplies, and some community members even stopped by to lend a hand, providing everything from paint to furniture. Grace and Marcus were overwhelmed by the generosity of strangers. It felt as if the city was welcoming them with open arms, healing the wounds from their past. One Saturday, they hosted a community cleanup event at the building, inviting anyone who wanted to contribute. They prepared snacks and drinks, hoping to create a warm and inviting atmosphere. As the day approached, Grace and Marcus felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. On the morning of the event, they arrived early to set up, placing chairs in a circle outside the building. They decorated the area with colorful banners and made sure the refreshments were ready. Soon, families began to arrive, their faces filled with curiosity and hope. Children ran around the yard, their laughter echoing against the walls of the old building. "Thank you all for being here today," Grace called out, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. "We're excited to transform this space into a school that welcomes every child and celebrates our differences. Together, we can make a difference in this community." As the cleanup commenced, Grace and Marcus worked alongside the families, sharing their vision for the school. Some parents were hesitant, expressing concerns about the challenges they might face in a diverse environment. But Grace listened patiently, reassuring them that their focus on inclusivity would benefit everyone involved. "We want this school to be a place where children learn to appreciate each other's backgrounds and experiences," Marcus said passionately. "It's not just about education, it's about fostering understanding and respect." By the end of the day, the building showed remarkable progress. Fresh coats of paint covered the walls, and debris had been cleared from the front yard. The atmosphere was alive with hope and excitement, a true testament to what a community could achieve when they came together for a common cause. As the sun began to set, Grace and Marcus stood hand in hand, surveying their hard work. "We did this," Grace said, a mixture of pride and disbelief in her voice. Marcus smiled, his eyes sparkling with joy. "And it's just the beginning. We have so much more to accomplish." Their hearts were full, but the journey was far from over. The following week brought more hurdles. A meeting with the education board was scheduled, and they both felt a wave of anxiety wash over them as they prepared their presentation. "This could make or break us," Grace said, pacing their living room. "What if they don't see our vision?" "We have to believe in ourselves and the impact we can have," Marcus reassured her, pulling her into a warm embrace. "Let's focus on the children. That's why we're doing this." The day of the meeting arrived, and Grace wore a tailored blazer, trying to exude confidence despite the nervous fluttering in her stomach. They entered the conference room filled with stern-looking officials, their faces a mixture of skepticism and indifference. As Grace and Marcus began to present their plans, their passion shone through. They spoke about their curriculum, the diverse backgrounds of their teaching staff, and the importance of creating an inclusive environment. They emphasized their commitment to ensuring that every child felt represented and valued. But as they spoke, they encountered resistance. "Your plans seem very idealistic," one board member remarked, her tone sharp. "How do you plan to manage the challenges that come with such diversity?" Marcus maintained his composure, responding calmly. "Diversity is a strength, not a challenge. We've done our research, and we believe that by celebrating our differences, we can create a rich learning environment for everyone." Despite their best efforts, the board remained skeptical. The meeting ended with no clear commitment, and Grace and Marcus left feeling defeated. It was a crushing blow after the hope they had felt just days before. As they walked back to their car, Grace's heart sank. What if we fail? What if we can't make this work? Marcus stopped, turning to face her. "We've faced challenges before, and we've always come out stronger. We can't let their doubts discourage us. Remember what we're fighting for." His words reignited Grace's determination. "You're right. We can't give up now." In the days that followed, they doubled down on their efforts, reaching out to community leaders and potential supporters. They organized workshops and open forums, inviting parents to share their thoughts and concerns. Slowly, they began to build a network of advocates who believed in their vision. One evening, as they were preparing for another community event, Marcus looked at Grace and smiled. "You know, no matter how hard this gets, I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else." Grace's heart swelled with love. "Neither would I. We're in this together, always." As they stood together in the glow of their small apartment, they knew that their love and commitment to each other would be the foundation upon which they built their dream. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the belief that love could change the world, one child at a time. Building bridges. The weeks turned into months as Grace and Marcus dove deeper into their mission. Their commitment to building an inclusive school became a rallying point for many in the community, drawing in families who shared their vision of equality and understanding. They organized community meetings in local parks, welcoming anyone who was willing to listen, share their ideas, or simply ask questions. Grace's charisma and passion captivated her audience, while Marcus's calm demeanor and logical approach reassured those who were hesitant. They used real-life stories and examples to illustrate the positive impact of diversity in education. They highlighted research showing that children who grow up in inclusive environments are more empathetic and better equipped to thrive in a multicultural world. One sunny Saturday, they hosted a Diversity Day event in a local park, inviting families from all backgrounds to come together and celebrate their differences. The park was filled with laughter and the sweet aroma of various foods as families set up booths showcasing their cultures: soul food, Italian pasta, Asian delicacies, and more. Grace and Marcus had organized games and activities for the children, creating an atmosphere that was both festive and educational. As the event unfolded, Grace took a moment to step back and soak in the scene. Children were laughing and playing together, families were sharing stories, and the community felt united in a way she had never seen before. She turned to Marcus, her heart swelling with pride. "Look at what we've created together. This is what it's all about." Marcus nodded, his eyes shining with warmth. "It's amazing to see people come together. This is the kind of community we want to foster in our school." As the sun began to set, Grace took to the makeshift stage to address the crowd. "Thank you all for being here today. This is just the beginning of our journey together. We believe that every child deserves an education that celebrates who they are and where they come from. With your support, we can create a school that embodies these values." The applause that followed filled Grace with a sense of purpose. It was clear that they were gaining momentum, and their vision was resonating with many. However, their path was not without obstacles. As they continued to build support, they also encountered backlash from some members of the community who were resistant to change. A few days after the Diversity Day event, Grace received a disturbing call. A local news outlet wanted to interview her and Marcus about their plans for the school. While the opportunity to share their story was exciting, Grace felt a knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. What if they twist our words or misrepresent our intentions? She worried aloud to Marcus. "We can't control how others perceive us," Marcus replied, reassuringly. "But we can be true to ourselves and articulate our vision clearly. This is our chance to reach even more people." On the day of the interview, they sat in front of the camera, their hearts racing with a mix of anticipation and nerves. The reporter, a sharp and seasoned journalist, began with leading questions, prodding their motivations and intentions. Grace took a deep breath, focusing on the message they wanted to convey. "We believe that education is the key to breaking down barriers and fostering understanding," she stated confidently. "Our goal is to create an environment where every child, regardless of their background, can feel safe and valued." Marcus chimed in. "Diversity is not just a checkbox. It's a strength that enriches our communities. By celebrating our differences, we prepare our children to navigate the world with empathy and respect." As they spoke, Grace felt the tension easing. They were sharing their truth, and the passion in their voices was undeniable. After the interview, they left feeling hopeful. But the next day, their optimism was shattered when the segment aired. Instead of the uplifting story they had envisioned, the reporter focused on sensationalized reactions from community members who disagreed with their plans. The segment painted Grace and Marcus as idealistic dreamers, disconnected from the realities of their community. Criticism flooded social media, with some local residents even calling for a protest against their school. The backlash hit hard, and Grace found herself overwhelmed with doubt. "Maybe we were too naive," she confessed to Marcus one evening, tears brimming in her eyes. "What if we're making a mistake?" Marcus pulled her into an embrace, his strength providing a much-needed anchor. "We knew this wouldn't be easy, but we can't let fear dictate our mission. We're doing this for the children, our future. Remember why we started." Despite his comforting words, the weight of the criticism lingered. Grace and Marcus began to question their strategy. They decided to hold another community meeting, this time focused on addressing concerns and misconceptions. "We need to listen to the community," Grace said, her resolve strengthening. "We have to show them that we're here to work together, not against them." They scheduled the meeting for a week later, promoting it heavily through social media and flyers. When the day arrived, they set up chairs in the old building's main hall, preparing to welcome everyone with open arms. Grace was anxious, but she remained determined to face whatever came their way. As the crowd trickled in, Grace and Marcus greeted each person warmly, encouraging dialogue and understanding. The atmosphere felt tense at first, but they remained committed to fostering an open space for discussion. Grace stood at the front of the room, her heart pounding as she began to speak. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice steady. "We want to hear your concerns and answer your questions. Our goal is to create a school that benefits all children in our community, and we can't do it without your input." A hand shot up from the back of the room. It was Mr. Jenkins, a local businessman known for his outspoken opinions. "What makes you think you can handle a diverse student body? You're just two teachers. What do you know about running a school?" His voice was laced with skepticism, and the tension in the room thickened. Grace took a deep breath, ready to respond. "We may be just two teachers, but we're passionate about education and committed to making a difference. We've done extensive research and have consulted with educators who specialize in inclusive practices. This is not just a dream for us, it's a vision rooted in reality." Marcus stepped forward, his calm demeanor contrasting with the charged atmosphere. Diversity brings challenges, but it also offers incredible opportunities for growth and learning. "We believe that by working together, we can create a supportive environment that embraces all students." As the meeting progressed, more voices chimed in, some supportive, others still skeptical. Grace and Marcus listened intently, answering questions and addressing concerns with patience and empathy. It wasn't easy, and at times the discussions became heated, but they remained steadfast. Gradually, the atmosphere began to shift. Some attendees who had initially expressed doubts started to voice their support. A young mother named Sarah spoke up, sharing her experiences as a single parent trying to navigate the school system. "I want my daughter to grow up in a world where she understands and respects people from all backgrounds," she said. "I believe in what you're doing." By the end of the evening, while not everyone had been won over, a palpable sense of community began to emerge. Grace and Marcus felt a renewed sense of hope. They were gaining allies in their mission. As attendees began to leave, several people approached them, offering to help with outreach and community-building efforts. In the days that followed, the momentum continued to build. The couple organized additional events and workshops, inviting parents, educators, and community leaders to share their thoughts and ideas. With each gathering, they forged stronger connections and dispelled misconceptions. They emphasized that their school would not just be about diversity, but also about community and collaboration. Amidst the progress, Grace and Marcus faced their own challenges. Financial constraints still loomed large, and the renovation process continued to reveal unexpected setbacks. They often found themselves working late into the night, poring over budgets and planning for the school's future. One evening, as they sat at their dining table surrounded by paperwork, Grace leaned back in her chair and sighed. "Some days it feels overwhelming. What if we can't pull this off?" Marcus reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "We can't predict the future, but we can control our actions today. Every small step we take is progress. Remember, we're building something incredible here." Their late-night discussions often turned into brainstorming sessions, filled with laughter and creativity. They envisioned a school that would not only educate but also empower, where children could find their voices and advocate for themselves and others. They wanted to create a legacy that would extend beyond the walls of their building, impacting the broader community for generations to come. As they continued to navigate the complexities of launching their school, they also experienced moments of pure joy and excitement. With the arrival of spring, they decided to host a community garden party to celebrate the progress they had made. They invited families to bring plants and flowers to beautify the grounds surrounding their school. On the day of the event, the sun shone brightly as families gathered, carrying pots of vibrant flowers and seedlings. Grace and Marcus coordinated activities for the children, while also engaging with the adults, sharing updates about their plans for the school. As the garden began to bloom, so too did the sense of unity within the community. The garden party was not only a celebration of growth, but also a symbol of hope and resilience. As Grace planted her first flower with the help of a group of excited children, she looked around and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This was the community they had dreamed of, a place where everyone was valued and welcomed. That evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Grace and Marcus reflected on their journey thus far. "We've come a long way," Grace said softly, leaning against Marcus. "I never thought we'd find this kind of support. It just goes to show that when we work together, anything is possible," Marcus replied, his gaze filled with admiration for Grace. "We're on the right path, and we're not stopping anytime soon." With their hearts full of hope and determination, they knew that the challenges ahead would only make their mission stronger. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, they sat in comfortable silence, ready to face whatever the future held, together. The seeds of change. As the weeks unfolded into summer, the vibrant energy surrounding Grace and Marcus's initiative continued to grow. Their community garden party had sparked newfound interest in their vision for the school, and more families were reaching out, eager to get involved. Supporters volunteered to help with renovations, and local businesses began donating supplies more generously, excited about the prospect of a school that would foster inclusivity and diversity. Grace and Marcus organized a series of workshops aimed at educating parents and community members about the benefits of diverse learning environments. They brought in speakers who specialized in multicultural education and child psychology, and attendance at these events steadily increased. The more they shared their vision, the more people began to see the potential for change. One particular evening, They hosted a panel discussion titled "The Power of Diversity in Education." The event was held in a local community center and attracted an unexpectedly large crowd. Parents, educators, and community leaders filled the room, and excitement buzzed in the air. Grace and Marcus prepared for the event with a mix of eagerness and nervousness. As the panel began, they listened intently to the speakers, each sharing compelling research and personal stories that underscored the importance of inclusive education. Grace took notes furiously, capturing ideas and inspiration that they could integrate into their school curriculum. When it was their turn to speak, Grace and Marcus stood confidently at the front of the room, ready to share their plans. Grace's voice resonated with passion as she spoke about their vision of a school where every child felt valued and understood. "We want to create a space where children can learn from one another's experiences and backgrounds," Grace stated, her eyes shining with conviction. Diversity is not just a concept. It's a way of life that we want to instill in our students. By teaching empathy and understanding, we can help shape a brighter future. Marcus followed up with his thoughts, emphasizing the need for representation in education. Every child should see themselves reflected in the curriculum and in their teachers. "We believe that when children feel included, they perform better academically and socially." As they wrapped up their presentation, the audience erupted into applause, and several attendees approached them afterward, eager to offer support. One mother, Sarah, who had previously been skeptical, now expressed her enthusiasm. "You've changed my mind. I want my daughter to be part of this school. How can I help?" With each passing day, Grace and Marcus felt the tide turning in their favor. They were no longer just two idealistic teachers. They were leaders in a movement for change. The positive energy surrounding their initiative fueled their resolve, but there were still challenges lurking beneath the surface. Despite the growing support, the Education Board remained skeptical. They had scheduled another meeting to discuss the plans for the school, but previous interactions had been fraught with tension. Grace and Marcus knew they had to prepare meticulously to address the board's concerns. In the days leading up to the meeting, they spent hours refining their presentation. They compiled statistics, success stories from similar inclusive schools, and testimonials from parents who had attended their workshops. They wanted to present a well-rounded argument that demonstrated not only the need for such a school, but also its viability. On the day of the meeting, the couple arrived early, their hearts pounding with anticipation. They set up their materials in the conference room, hoping to create a warm, inviting atmosphere. As they waited for the board members to arrive, Grace squeezed Marcus's hand, feeling a mixture of nerves and excitement. As the meeting began, the atmosphere was tense. The board members arrived, their faces inscrutable as they settled into their seats. Grace and Marcus presented their research and findings, articulating the potential impact of their school on the community. They shared heartwarming testimonials from parents and children who had attended their workshops. Despite their thorough preparation, the board remained resistant. One member, a stern-faced woman named Ms. Fletcher, interjected with skepticism. "While your intentions are commendable, we need to consider the logistics. How do you plan to ensure that your school won't disrupt the existing educational framework?" Marcus, determined not to back down, responded, "Our goal is not to disrupt but to enhance. We're proposing a model that supports the local educational system, not replaces it. We want to work collaboratively with the district to create programs that benefit all students." The conversation became increasingly heated as board members voiced their doubts and concerns. Grace felt her heart sink as the weight of their skepticism threatened to crush her spirit. But she remembered the families who believed in their vision and the children they were fighting for. "We're not just advocating for our school," Grace said passionately. "We're advocating for a future where every child, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to thrive. Isn't that what we should be striving for?" As they spoke, Grace noticed a flicker of intrigue in the eyes of a few board members. She decided to pivot the conversation, focusing on the community support they had garnered. "Look at the attendance at our workshops. Families are eager to embrace this change. We're building a foundation that has the potential to benefit the entire district." After what felt like hours of back and forth, the board agreed to a follow-up meeting to further discuss their proposal. It wasn't a definitive victory, but it was a step forward, a small glimmer of hope in a world that had often felt filled with obstacles. In the days following the meeting, Grace and Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. They poured their energy into the renovations, working tirelessly to create a welcoming environment for their future students. Each day brought new challenges, unforeseen issues with plumbing, electrical repairs that seemed endless, and financial strains that weighed heavily on their minds. One evening, as they worked late into the night, Grace glanced at Marcus, who was hunched over a set of plans. "Do you think we're crazy for doing this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus looked up, a smile creeping across his face. "Absolutely not. We're doing something incredible. And yes, it's hard work, but every challenge is a step towards something greater. We're not just building a school, we're building a community." Grace felt warmth spread through her as she listened to him speak. "You're right. I just wish the process would move faster. I want to see our dream become a reality." "It will," he assured her. "Every small victory counts. Remember the support we've gained. People are believing in us. We just need to keep pushing forward." With renewed determination, they returned to their work. As summer turned to fall, the weather began to cool, and so did their renovations. However, the first day of school was approaching quickly, and they needed to be ready. One crisp morning, as they stood together in the almost completed school building, Grace marveled at how far they had come. The walls were painted bright colors, and the rooms were beginning to take shape. "We're actually doing this," she said, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. "Yes, we are," Marcus replied, wrapping his arm around her shoulder. "And soon, we'll be welcoming our first students. Just think about the impact we'll have on their lives." As they imagined the bustling energy of children filling the classrooms, Grace couldn't help but feel hopeful. But just as quickly as the hope surged within her, the nagging doubt crept back in. What if they don't come? What if we've built this beautiful place, and no one shows up? "Let's not think about that," Marcus said firmly. "We've worked too hard and come too far to let fear dictate our future. Let's focus on what we can control, our commitment to our mission, and the love we want to share with these children." With their resolve strengthened, they continued to prepare for the opening of the school. They reached out to families who had expressed interest, inviting them to an open house where they could tour the building, meet the staff, and learn more about their vision. The day of the open house arrived, and Grace and Marcus felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. They decorated the building with colorful banners and artwork created by local children. As the time approached, they stood at the entrance, ready to welcome families. As the doors opened, a steady stream of parents and children flowed into the building. Grace felt her heart race with anticipation. Families explored the rooms, filled with bright colors and engaging activities. Laughter echoed in the halls as children eagerly interacted with the staff. At the end of the day, Grace and Marcus stood together, surrounded by families who had come to support their dream. They had far exceeded their expectations, welcoming dozens of families eager to enroll their children. "This is incredible," Grace said, her eyes wide with disbelief. Marcus beamed with pride. "We did it. People believe in our vision, and we're about to make a real difference." As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the school, Grace and Marcus knew they were on the verge of something transformative. They were not just building a school. They were planting the seeds of change in their community, nurturing a garden of understanding, empathy, and hope. With determination in their hearts, they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together they could change the world, one child at a time. Trials and triumphs. The first day of school dawned bright and clear, filled with the kind of promise that only new beginnings can bring. Grace and Marcus stood outside the entrance of their newly renovated school, their hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. The vibrant colors of the building, the laughter of children, and the chatter of parents created an atmosphere alive with hope. "Are you ready for this?" Marcus asked, his hand resting on the door as he looked at Grace, who was adjusting her blazer nervously. "I think so," she replied, her voice filled with a blend of anticipation and nerves. "I've spent so much time dreaming about this day. I can't believe it's finally here." As the clock struck 8, the doors swung open, and the first group of students walked in, their faces a mix of curiosity and wonder. Grace knelt down to greet a little girl with curly hair and wide, inquisitive eyes. "Welcome to our school, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Emma," the girl replied shyly. "Well, Emma, we're so happy to have you here. You're going to have a lot of fun and learn so many exciting things," Grace encouraged, her heart swelling with joy. As the morning unfolded, the school filled with the sounds of children laughing, learning, and exploring. Grace and Marcus moved through the classrooms, watching as their vision came to life. In one room, a group of children gathered around a table, excitedly discussing their family traditions while creating colorful posters to showcase their cultures. "This is exactly what we wanted," Marcus said, his voice filled with pride. "Look at them, already engaging with one another." However, as the excitement of the day progressed, challenges began to emerge. Midway through the morning, they noticed a group of parents huddled together in the hallway, their expressions tense. Grace approached them, her smile faltering when she heard snippets of their conversation. "I don't know if I'm comfortable with my child being in a classroom with so many different backgrounds," one mother said. "What if they fall behind?" Grace felt a familiar pang of worry in her chest. "Excuse me," she interjected gently, trying to keep her voice calm. "I understand your concerns, but our curriculum is designed to support every child at their individual level. Diversity doesn't hinder learning, it enhances it." The parents exchanged skeptical glances, and the tension in the air thickened. One father, arms crossed, spoke up. "I'm just not sure this is what we want for our children." Grace's heart raced. She could feel Marcus behind her, a steady presence offering silent support. "I promise you, we're committed to ensuring every child has the opportunity to thrive here," she said, trying to convey sincerity. "We're not just building a school, we're creating a community where everyone feels welcome and valued." Though her words seemed to resonate with some, the skepticism remained palpable. As the parents walked away, Grace turned to Marcus, her shoulders heavy with disappointment. "What if they don't believe in us? What if they pull their kids out?" Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her back. "We'll prove to them that we can make this work. This is just the beginning, and every school faces challenges. We'll address their concerns head-on." In the weeks that followed, Grace and Marcus focused on their mission, pouring their hearts into creating a nurturing environment for their students. They organized cultural exchange days, where families could share their traditions, languages, and stories, allowing children to learn from one another in a meaningful way. However, the skepticism from some parents persisted. A few withdrew their children from the school, citing concerns about its experimental nature. Grace felt the sting of rejection, but she and Marcus remained steadfast, drawing strength from the support of those who believed in their vision. One evening, as they prepared for another parent-teacher meeting, Grace couldn't shake the feeling of doubt that had settled in her mind. "What if we're not doing enough?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. "What if we're failing these kids?" Marcus took her hand, grounding her. "We can't control everyone's opinion, but we can control our actions. We've already made a difference in so many lives. Just look at how excited the kids are." Grace nodded, drawing strength from his words, but the following week, they faced an unexpected challenge that tested their resolve. During a routine school assembly, one of the older students, a boy named Alex, made a disrespectful comment about a classmate's cultural attire. Laughter erupted in the auditorium, and Grace's heart sank as she witnessed the hurt on the other child's face. "Alex," Grace called out, stepping forward with authority. That's not how we treat each other here. We celebrate our differences, and your comment was hurtful." The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence. Alex crossed his arms defiantly. "But it's just a costume. Why do we have to be so sensitive all the time?" Grace felt the weight of the moment, realizing that this was a pivotal teaching moment. It's not about being sensitive, it's about respect. Every person in this room has a story and a background that deserves to be honored. When we make fun of others, we're only hurting ourselves. We need to learn to lift each other up, not tear each other down. The room remained quiet, and Marcus stepped in, his voice steady. "Let's take this opportunity to learn from one another. Why don't we invite Alex to share what he knows about the cultures we're discussing? That way we can all understand each other better." Alex shifted uncomfortably, glancing around the room at his peers. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Finally, he relented, standing up and reluctantly sharing a bit about his own family's traditions. "Okay, well, my family does celebrate Halloween differently," he started, his voice a bit shaky. "We do this whole spooky thing, and we eat special treats. I guess I never thought about it as a costume, but more like a tradition." As he spoke, Grace saw the tension in the room begin to dissipate. Other students started sharing their own traditions, turning the assembly into a lively discussion about cultural celebrations and the significance of each. "See," Marcus whispered to Grace, a proud smile on his face. "This is what it's all about." That day they learned a valuable lesson about understanding, acceptance, and the importance of open dialogue. As the weeks progressed, Grace and Marcus continued to nurture this spirit of inclusion. They implemented circle time sessions in classrooms, where students could openly discuss their feelings and share experiences without fear of judgment. However, they soon discovered that not everyone was on board. During a particularly challenging meeting with the education board, they faced sharp criticism regarding their methods. One board member, Ms. Fletcher, who had previously been skeptical, was particularly harsh. "Your methods are unconventional," she stated, her voice cold. "You're not following standard practices, and it's going to reflect poorly on our district. Parents expect certain levels of performance from their schools." Grace felt her heart race. "But our approach is based on research that shows inclusive environments foster better learning outcomes. It's about developing well-rounded, empathetic individuals who can navigate the complexities of the world." Marcus added, "We understand the importance of standards, but we believe our approach can meet and exceed those standards by engaging students in a way that makes them feel valued." Despite their impassioned pleas, the board remained unconvinced. They left the meeting feeling defeated, but Grace and Marcus refused to let the negativity overshadow their mission. They spent the next few days brainstorming ways to engage parents and demonstrate the effectiveness of their programs. They decided to host an open house specifically for the parents who were still skeptical. They invited families to experience firsthand the classroom activities, showcasing the innovative curriculum they had designed. On the day of the open house, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement as parents and children filled the hallways. Grace and Marcus led guided tours through the classrooms, where students engaged in interactive projects and cultural presentations. One mother, who had previously voiced her concerns, approached Grace after witnessing her daughter's enthusiasm. "I didn't realize how engaged the kids are," she admitted, her eyes wide with surprise. "I'm starting to see what you're doing here. It's impressive." With each positive interaction, Grace and Marcus felt their confidence grow. They knew they were on the right path, one that was filled with challenges, but also with opportunities for transformation. As the school year progressed, the community began to embrace their mission. Children who had once been isolated started forming friendships, and parents who were skeptical began advocating for their school. The power of love, understanding, and empathy was slowly changing hearts and minds. One day, as they stood together in the hallway, watching children learn and play, Marcus turned to Grace, his expression thoughtful. "You know, I think we're really making a difference. Look at them, united and thriving." Grace smiled, her heart swelling with pride. This is just the beginning. We have so much more to accomplish. Together, we're not just changing our school, we're changing the world. As they continued to navigate the complexities of their journey, they knew that their love and commitment to each other and their shared vision would guide them through the trials and triumphs ahead. They were determined to cultivate a garden of understanding, where the seeds of change would blossom into a brighter future for all. Blossoms of change. As autumn rolled in, painting the leaves in hues of gold and crimson, Grace and Marcus found themselves at a pivotal moment in their journey. Their school had blossomed into a vibrant community hub, drawing families from all walks of life eager to embrace the values of inclusivity and understanding that they championed. The students were thriving, engaged in learning that went beyond textbooks to include cultural appreciation and social responsibility. One crisp morning, while walking through the schoolyard, Grace and Marcus overheard a group of students excitedly discussing an upcoming project for their multicultural week. The children, a delightful mix of backgrounds and cultures, were brainstorming ideas for presentations that celebrated their heritage. Laughter filled the air as they shared stories of their families and traditions. "This is it," Marcus said, a smile breaking across his face. "This is what we wanted to achieve, a community where children celebrate each other's differences." However, as the excitement in the school swelled, so did the scrutiny from some community members. Although the overall sentiment toward the school had shifted positively, there remained a vocal group of skeptics who criticized the couple's unconventional approach to education. Rumors spread about the school's curriculum being too radical, and whispers of dissent lingered at community events. Despite the challenges, Grace and Marcus were determined to focus on the positive impact they were making. They organized a community connection day to invite parents, neighbors, and local leaders to experience the school firsthand. Their goal was to showcase the incredible work being done within the walls of their school and foster a stronger sense of community. As they prepared for the event, Grace felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. What if the naysayers come and disrupt everything? She fretted one evening as they decorated the school with colorful banners and posters showcasing students' work. "Then we'll handle it," Marcus replied confidently. "This is about showcasing our vision. We've worked too hard to let negativity overshadow our progress." The day of the event arrived, and the school was abuzz with energy. Families streamed in, marveling at the art displays, cultural booths, and performances by the students. Children showcased their heritage through dance, music, and storytelling, bringing their families' traditions to life. As Grace stood at the entrance, welcoming guests with Marcus by her side, she felt a sense of pride swell in her chest. "Look at this. This is what it's all about," she said, her eyes sparkling with joy. Amid the laughter and celebration, a few familiar faces approached, community members who had previously voiced their doubts. Grace's heart raced as they approached her. "We heard about what you're doing here," one woman said, her expression softened. "We didn't understand it before, but seeing these kids so engaged, it's impressive." "Thank you," Grace replied, her smile genuine. "This is just the beginning. We want to build a place where every child feels they belong." As the event continued, the atmosphere shifted from skepticism to acceptance. Families who had previously distanced themselves began to engage, asking questions about the curriculum and expressing interest in being more involved. Then, to their surprise, a local news station arrived to cover the event. A reporter approached Grace and Marcus, intrigued by the community response. "Can you tell us about the impact your school has had on the community?" she asked, her camera rolling. Grace and Marcus exchanged glances, excitement bubbling between them. "Our goal has always been to create a space where children learn from each other, where diversity is celebrated," Marcus said passionately. "We want to instill values of empathy and understanding that extend beyond the classroom." As the reporter continued to film, Grace felt her nerves ease. "We believe that education is a powerful tool for change. By creating an inclusive environment, we're preparing our students to thrive in a diverse world." After the event, the couple watched as parents engaged in discussions, building connections and friendships that hadn't existed before. The seeds of change they had planted were beginning to blossom into a flourishing garden of community. However, just as they began to feel a sense of stability, another challenge arose. A local activist group opposed to their approach scheduled a public forum to express their dissenting views. They aimed to rally support against what they called an experiment in education. Grace and Marcus were taken aback by the sudden turn of events. They had worked tirelessly to create a positive impact, and now they faced public scrutiny yet again. They felt the familiar pang of doubt, but they refused to back down. "This is our opportunity to defend our mission," Marcus asserted, his voice steady. "We can't let fear dictate our path. We need to show the community that our approach is rooted in love and respect." The day of the forum arrived, and Grace and Marcus prepared to present their case. They invited parents, teachers, and students to join them in sharing their experiences. Grace felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders as they entered the crowded auditorium. As they took their seats, they noticed a mix of supporters and skeptics filling the room. The atmosphere was tense, and Grace felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. But as the forum began, she realized that this was a chance to highlight the positive changes their school had already made. When it was their turn to speak, Grace took a deep breath, her heart racing. "Thank you for allowing us to share our vision for education," she began, her voice steady. "Our approach is not an experiment. It's a commitment to nurturing a community where every child is valued." Marcus spoke next, addressing the concerns raised by the opposing group. "We're not here to undermine traditional education. We're here to enhance it. Studies have shown that inclusive classrooms foster better social skills and academic performance. We're preparing students to thrive in a diverse world, and we believe that's essential for their future." As they shared stories of their students, highlighting their successes and growth, the atmosphere in the room began to shift. They emphasized how the school had already made a significant impact on families, showcasing testimonials from parents who had witnessed their children flourish in this nurturing environment. But just as the tide seemed to turn in their favor, a well-known critic of their initiative took the stage, her voice dripping with skepticism. "You're trying to sell us a dream that isn't grounded in reality," she scoffed. "Children need structure, not this liberal nonsense you're promoting." Grace felt a surge of determination. This was her moment. "Respectfully, we believe that structure and diversity can coexist. Our curriculum emphasizes critical thinking, empathy, and understanding, skills that are essential for success in today's world." As the discussion continued, the atmosphere in the auditorium became charged with emotion. Supporters and skeptics engaged in passionate debates, and Grace and Marcus stood firm, embodying the very values they were advocating for. After what felt like hours, the forum came to a close. Although they faced opposition, they felt a sense of accomplishment. They had presented their case clearly and passionately, and the support from the community was evident. In the days following the forum, Grace and Marcus noticed a shift. The opposing group had galvanized interest in their initiative, with some individuals reaching out to learn more about their approach. New families expressed interest in enrolling their children, eager to be part of a community that championed inclusivity. As the first semester drew to a close, Grace and Marcus reflected on their journey. They had faced challenges that tested their resolve, but they had also witnessed the incredible power of love, understanding, and community. One chilly evening, as they sat together on the porch, sipping hot cocoa, Grace looked at Marcus with a sense of gratitude. "I can't believe how far we've come. It's been a roller coaster, but we're making a real difference." Marcus nodded, a warm smile spreading across his face. "We've built something beautiful here, and it's only the beginning. We have so much more to do." With renewed energy, they began to plan for the upcoming semester, envisioning new projects, cultural events, and community outreach initiatives. They dreamed of expanding their curriculum to include even more diverse perspectives and experiences. As winter descended upon the town, bringing with it the spirit of the holiday season, Grace and Marcus decided to host a celebration of cultures event. They invited families to come together and share their holiday traditions, fostering an environment of joy and unity. The event was a resounding success, filled with laughter, music, and the aroma of delicious dishes from around the world. Families shared stories, participated in cultural performances, and decorated the school with ornaments that represented their diverse backgrounds. As the night drew to a close, Grace stood before the gathered community, her heart full. Thank you all for being here tonight and for embracing our vision. Together, we are creating a future where every child feels valued and loved. Let's continue to build this beautiful community, united in our diversity. In that moment, Grace realized that their journey was not just about creating a school. It was about cultivating a community of understanding, empathy, and love. They had faced challenges, but they had also created a safe haven for children to learn and grow together. As the first snowflakes began to fall outside, Grace and Marcus stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. They were not just educators. They were changemakers, planting the seeds of hope and unity in a world that desperately needed it. With unwavering determination, they embraced the next chapter of their journey, knowing that together, they could change the world, one child at a time.